Greetings, everyone, and thank you for joining me on this episode. On this podcast, we explore topics of interest at the intersection of public health and entrepreneurship. My name is Dr. Charlotte Huntley, and I'm really happy that you've decided to join me on this episode. I'm a public health entrepreneur with over 25 years of experience in healthcare and in public health, and I've supported a lot of entrepreneurs along the way. On this episode today, I want to share with you a simple topic. I often refer to it on this podcast, and you'll hear me talk about it even more as we move forward. But it's this concept of CEO time. And you are the CEO of your business. It doesn't matter if your business is super tiny. As the visionary, the owner, you're the chief executive officer. So you're making the decisions about what's happening, about business development, about growth, about team structure, about everything. Sometimes that's exciting. Sometimes that's scary. I get it. But we are different from corporate CEOs. I still think that a lot of structure is handed to the corporate CEOs as founders, CEOs that are founders of the business. It's a little different. We've got to create absolutely everything as we move along. And that's okay. Peeling it apart and explaining it this way, it's not to frighten you. It's our reality as founding CEOs or founders of businesses and small businesses like the ones that, or tiny businesses like what we have. But CEO time is that time that you set aside from working in your business to work on your business. And we hear this phrase, but let me tell you what I mean by this. Working in your business is doing administrative tasks, managing your email, your social media, checking inboxes, responding to people, answering calls if you have a call system, doing client work, doing those things, the accounting, the bookkeeping. Maybe you have a bookkeeper, you receive the reports, and maybe that's a little bit spilling over to CEO time. But if you are managing receipts and tracking expenses, if you are sending out, having to put together invoices to send out to clients, all the things that could be managed by an employee or someone else in the business, those things that we do to keep the business operating and running. And sometimes it's just a team of one for a while. Or even when you have team members, there's still some part of that you are running and operating. Those are things that are having you working in the business. But the types of responsibilities or tasks that are working on the business are the things where you as the visionary are making decisions. You're deciding what the next hire might look like. You're looking over those bookkeeping reports and making decisions about the finances of the business. You're making decisions about whether or not the business can invest in the equipment or attend a meeting or buy something or whatever it involves in the business. You're the one making those decisions. You're making decisions about what the policies are in the business, how you're going to operate, what's going to happen, what softwares to use, all these things. These are things that are working on the business, and these are CEO responsibilities. These are the CEO level responsibilities. So when I say you need CEO time, you need to have some time where you step away from doing the tasks of the operations of the business and work on the business and become that visionary, sit in that visionary role for that moment. As I've described, and as you probably are already aware of the joy of it as well as the stress of it, a real important part of the CEO time is quiet time. CEO time may look like you sitting over in front of a whiteboard, just getting ideas out of your head and strategizing about what you may do next, or typing into a document or drafting it, scratching it out on a piece of paper. You may be sitting quietly in a coffee shop. I think it's one of the fun things to do is change the environment, leave the office, go someplace completely different where you have no distractions that pull you back into the business so that you can stay focused in your role as the visionary and think. Time to think about what you need to do, what you want to do, explore your ideas. All of this is important time as a CEO. And sometimes in those moments, we can put words to our thoughts in those quiet spaces. So it's really important to carve out CEO time for yourself. It may be if you don't have it at all and you wake up in the morning and you run all day until the end and you're working like a hamster on a hamster wheel, you're doing all the things in the business to keep things going. I understand. It's okay. No judgment. What your goal may be to just start to block out 1 hour a month. That's just CEO time, maybe 1 hour a week, whatever it looks like, wherever you are. If you have a little bit of time, maybe set aside a little bit more. Maybe it's about having some boundaries. Maybe you set aside the time or you plan to, but you need to have stricter boundaries around that time to protect it, to make sure that you continue to be the visionary and in that role. So it could be an hour, it could be a couple of hours, a day, a week. It could be a half day that you set aside for CEO time. And for me on my calendar, I'm out of office. I can't even add something into that block of time because we're protecting it for me to have that time. What it looks like when I get to that half day or that full day on my calendar depends on the needs at the time. Sometimes CEO time looks like a hike for me because I need to get out away from everything. And on that walk or that hike, my ideas can start to flow and I can start to just refresh myself on what's important. But let me also encourage you to incorporate self-care. So it can be disguised however you need to disguise it if you don't feel that that's important until you begin to embrace how important it really is. But I just want to remind you, a lot of you already know this. So this may be a reminder, or you may be hearing this for the first time as a CEO. But I'd like to remind you of the well-being part of our personal well-being, our self-care needs. It is physical health, it is our mental health, and it is our emotional health. We shouldn't wait for something in life to happen and knock us off our feet or knock us off course and force us to have that mental break that we need because the stress is overbearing. I would like to encourage you to incorporate time for physical health, mental health, emotional health into your self-care or your CEO time. So these three elements of self-care, I encourage you to implement that or to infuse that into your CEO time. We need to make sure that we're exercising, part of our physical health. We're exercising regularly. We are eating well and we're getting adequate sleep. It's vital. We need to make sure that we are protecting our mental health, monitoring our stress management, and practicing mindfulness. When I found a therapist to work with when I lost my mother last year, I wanted to make sure that they specialized in grief. That was important to me. Now, we've been in a very long-term relationship because this therapist also specializes in stress management. So as my needs for grief-specific help ebbs and flows, the stress management is always there. So she's been able to really help me with that piece of my mental health. And I think that is important. And we know it, but we don't always prioritize it for ourselves. And then also our emotional health. What about our emotional health? And think about our support systems and boundaries. I was recently able to share in a keynote speech that I delivered the importance of these emotional boundaries. Sometimes you want to reset those boundaries with people and allow people close to you to get close enough to check in on you. As you know, these high functioning leaders, we often are the ones that people come to for answers. As a CEO, people are going to come to us for answers. They have questions that come to us, but we need to allow, you don't need a lot of people in this space, but it's important to allow certain trusted people to get close enough to you on an emotional level that they can check in on you and they can be that support. Sometimes it is that accountability, and they can say, how are you doing? And it's that person you can feel safe enough and comfortable enough with to say exactly how you're feeling. And maybe you're giving them permission to just be there for you and do what they feel led to do for you and not wait for you to tell them what you need, because sometimes that can be difficult. Now, I went into a whole lot of details in my keynote on a very personal level about how this is so important to me. But for the sake of this podcast, I'm just going to leave it there. It's important that as a CEO, number one, that I encourage you to have CEO time for the visionary part of what you do. But then also, it could be a part of this time or separate from this time. It's important to make sure that you're practicing self-care on these three levels: the physical health, the mental health, and emotional health. You'll never regret investing in yourself in those 3 areas, because you come back a lot stronger, refreshed, and ready for whatever you have ahead of you as the CEO of your business. All right. I hope this is helpful, and I hope you really take it to heart. Find something that you can implement and something that you can tweak. Either incorporate some CEO time, or make sure that you're starting to incorporate this self-care element, protecting yourself and taking care of yourself as the CEO of your business. I would like to remind you about our Mastermind group program, because I talk about this very specifically with our Mastermind members. I get to know everyone in our group really well. I know their businesses. So in a sense, I become that person that can help provide that bit of support, but I don't ever, I'm guiding them. I'm guiding them and encouraging them, sort of like I'm doing with you on this episode, but in a more intimate way, because I really do get to know our members so much better. So I would love for you to explore our Mastermind group program. Enrollment is only open twice a year, in December, beginning of December, and in June. So visit publichealthentrepreneurs.com to learn more. From the menu, you can just click on Mastermind, and there's a whole page that explains our program in much more detail. It is ideal for those of you who have already started your business. You have clients, you're operating, you're trying to build and grow your business. Scaling up to hit 6 figures may be a milestone for you, or if you're beyond 6 figures, maybe building your team is a goal for you. So wherever you fit, if you've already gotten started and you're looking to grow this business into the business of your dreams, then this is a great fit for you. Either way, if you're interested, you read the details, fill out an application. That's the only way we know that you're interested in the program. We'd be happy to meet with you and answer all of your questions. We want to make sure it's a good mutual fit before enrollment opens. All right, everyone. Until next time, have a fantastic rest of your day.